All right, hello. Welcome to Open Source Friday. And today we got a special guest here, which is Brandon Bayer. I was gonna add an extra syllable in there, but yeah, Brandon, how are you doing? Oh, I have you muted. There you go. You can say how you doing one more time.
Hello, I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, this the doing the mixing and the switching. Yeah, still learning. I just learned how to use JavaScript, so once I finish that, I will learn how to do audio. Um, but yeah, welcome to Open Source
And
Friday, which is a stream to essentially just learn about how to contribute projects, how projects are built on GitHub. And here today, Brandon, you're a maintainer of Blitz.js. So do you want to give an introduction of like who you are and how you got into sort of making Blitz.js?
sure. So I've been a full stack web developer for I don't know 5 years now, and then before that I was doing C and C++. I have a college degree in electrical engineering, but I kind of left that behind, and I like software just a lot better. So, anyways, I learned Ruby on Rails like 5 years ago or something, and so that was really influential in how I learned web development and doing full stack apps and so forth. And mostly what I've done is building SaaS app, type products for smaller companies and startups. And then 3 years ago, I started doing consulting. So I've been consulting as an independent freelancer for 3 years, and again, building a lot of apps. And I really liked the Ruby on Rails, like how it worked, the productivity of it. Everything's there. It's pretty straightforward. But yet I really hated the templates. Like I really wanted React for the dynamic UIs and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like we didn't really have the Rails experience for React. And I just kept wanting that more and more, but didn't really know what it looked like. Like, does it have GraphQL in there, or like, because you have this API layer, and that's like the biggest kind of like knot in the whole thing, because Rails doesn't have that. And if you have an API, then you can't really have the Rails experience. So that kind of brought me up to February of this year, where I realized that, I think we can make this happen somehow with next.js, because of all the awesome features that they've been putting out. And then also Prisma 2 as a really awesome database client, which we hadn't really had yet. And so that's how it started.
Yeah, that's awesome too. And like we were chatting before we actually went live here, and I didn't even realize that Blitz.js has only been around since February of this year. Which honestly, that's been a pretty wild year for you then, because I mean that and also other things of obvious nature. But yeah, and I also came up learning Ruby on Rails as well. We actually learned the same way, which also I discovered when I
Oh, yeah.
first met
Yep.
you. Yeah. From sorry, I learned from a boot camp, the same boot camp that Brandon attended as well, which is like a testament of like you don't have to have 20 plus years of experience in programming. You can just have a nice interest and learn how to get stuff done, and then share your knowledge with folks through open source, which is like really the value of like conversations like this. Yeah, and
Yep.
to
For
be
sure.
clear, yeah, just to clarify, like you don't have a CS degree.
No, I have electrical engineering degree, which they teach you two classes on software, uh, or three, I guess, one on Java and two on C.
Ex-
So
Excellent. Yeah, and yeah, so listeners who are here in the chat with us, feel free to say hello. Let us know if you are interested in Ruby on Rails, the Blitz framework. If you do React, definitely let us know what got you here. We're happy that you're here with us this morning. Also, I see a bunch of people hitting the follow button. If you follow the channel, you'll get updated with every week. We'll have Open Source Friday chats for the next 6 weeks. So I'll mention a couple of those later on that we have in the future. Hello from Costa Rica, Tandor. Hello, and we got some React lovers too as well. And GraphQL FM, they're coming in here. They're stalking us. They're gonna make make some clips for their future podcasts. All right, so Brandon, I'm curious of like why I guess why now? Like, did you have a goal of solving a problem? Were you building a product, or did you just sort of like have some free time?
Um, I I just like the pressure built up enough, I guess, where it's like, okay, like this is it. And then like I mentioned with Prisma, it was like I think it was in beta. It just released in beta,
Yeah.
maybe, or maybe it was still alpha when I first started. But I knew that like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. Um, and then paired with Next.js, and so like originally I thought it would be. Like the goal was to eliminate the API layer, so you don't have to do data fetching and build the API and all of that. And so I thought it was going to be server-side rendered using a get server-side props in Next.js. And that's what my initial prototype and announcement was. But then after we were just exploring, like, cause I got a bunch of, I think there was, I had over, it was over 45 people that responded to my launch tweet that were interested in helping. Cause I was like, yeah, this, there's not much here. We need to build it. I need help. And so there's over 45 people who responded. And then I think about roughly 10 that actively like got in and helped. And many of those are still active contributors today. So as we were kind of working through like what is the architecture going to be, um, we're exploring all kinds of different stuff. Like if we're going to use model view controller, like Rails and Laravel and that sort of pattern, or are we going to use something totally different? Are we going to use GraphQL? Like that was on the table at one point. Um, and one day I was just laying in a hammock in Thailand, thinking about like how can we make this easy? And so I literally asked myself, what would this look like if it was easy? Like and so I was like, okay, so I want to write some server code, code that runs on the server, and then if it was easy, I could just import that directly into my React components and just like use it like a function. And I was like, well, that's actually pretty cool. Let's maybe we can make that work. And so that's literally what we have today is we abstract the API layer into a compile step. And so in development, you write your server functions, you import them into your components and use them there. And then at compile time, we swap that import out with an API call. And so you do get client-side rendering. Um, but you can also do server-side rendering if you use the get server-side props. You can do static generation like Gatsby with get static props. And so Blitz is awesome because of Next, and it's fully hybrid. You can do, you can have a marketing site that's all static in the same app, in the same code base as a monolith, and you can have your app section that's fully dynamic, client-side rendered, and so it's super flexible.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, like, if you don't mind, I think I'm going to transition us to looking at the site itself, and getting people sort of like the idea of what we're talking about too as well. So, like, if that wasn't clear, you've built on top of Next.js. So Next.js actually was on the stream back in I think early June, late April. You can check out the YouTube channel, GitHub's YouTube channel, if you want to actually see that conversation. But they've done a lot of really cool things this year and like making it easier to sort of like attach things to Next.js. But you've got that, you've got Prisma, which is handling the data layer, and then you, if I understand this correctly, do you have like documentation that can actually see this, like a quick start somewhere?
Right there, you have a quick start on this page you were just on.
Oh,
But what part do
yeah.
you want to see?
So when you're passing in the data from Prisma, because you're saying that you could pass it in as a function.
Um, let's see. Go to the tutorial. It's
Gotcha.
the on the left side. Yeah, I think this will show what you're looking for.
Okay, so yeah, this is the file structure. So similar to the Next, it has a very so you have like very clear opinions on file structure and things like that.
So a lot of a lot of the default file structure is not enforced, and so
Okay.
you can totally rearrange it.
Yeah.
Um, so we do have the same type of pages folder like Next.js, but unlike Next.js, you can have many pages folders, so you can have multiple pages and organize your code versus having all your pages in one single pages. You can
Yeah.
have like a pages in each folder for different features.
Okay.
But
Uh,
yeah, similar.
Yeah, excellent. And I'm curious. So since February, y'all have gone from 0 to 4.3 thousand stars. So like, people are paying attention at this point, right? It
Yeah.
seems like. How has it been like as far as adoption? So also I see 100 and 103 issues, which seems like there are people requesting things and finding things
Yeah.
as well. So
The Insights tab is interesting to look at too. And you can switch to the month view and see like it's pretty active. So that's 1 week. We've had 31 merge pull requests.
that's not too bad.
35 authors. So
Yeah. So like, what was the sort of like ramp up, or was there a promotion period outside of that tweet? And also, we didn't bring up your Twitter. I've got your Twitter here that I can drop it there. But like, you tweeted out, "I'm doing a thing." It showed up on Hacker News, and then now we're
actually,
here.
no, I don't think it still hasn't gotten traction on Hacker
Oh,
News
it
yet.
hasn't showed. Okay, it was just literally just tweeting the other
Yeah,
Hacker News
yeah,
for
yeah.
developers. Okay, excellent. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's just been slow, steady growth basically. Um, Nothing. It's just been me like doing marketing as best as I can.
Yeah.
I
Also, all these all these commits too.
yeah. One thing that definitely helped, I think, early on was I got invited to speak at React Europe conference. That was in April or May, I think.
Yeah.
And so it was just soon after I had announced, was it? I think the alpha had just released. And they messaged me and they're like, "Hey, the conference is in 3 weeks. We have an opening. You want to talk?" And I was like, "Yeah." So
Wow. Nice. I mean, that's great timing on your part too, as well. And I think that's like also what's hard about like getting adoption in like projects and doing open source, even like if you have a side project and you want other people to help and contribute. Like I know starting next week or at the end of next week, we're gonna have Hacktoberfest as a thing, and like folks always are looking for contributors to join their projects and help out and sort of provide feedback because it's hard doing it alone. And so having a community and collaborators as part of that community is like it's really valuable, and it helps you sort of like actually push through and like actually it gives you something to wake up. Like I think if you're having a startup, you're able to have the customer engagement and like this sort of like gets you excited. But when it comes to things like open source projects, like I think the contributor experience is nice to see as well. Just speaking as a
yeah,
maintainer of a small project myself.
yeah. And one thing that definitely helped was when I only had, it was only a couple hundred lines of code that I had, just prototype code when I announced Blitz.
Yeah,
But I was like very clear that like there's basically everything needs built and I need your help to build it. And so I basically kind of built a community before the product, so to speak. And that definitely helped with everybody that joined early on, like feeling ownership over it and helping, versus me slaving away for something for a year and then announcing it and be like, "Hey, here's this thing, like please come help me." And so instead it's like we're all building this thing together.
yeah. And speaking about together, I wanted to actually chat about how you sort of manage your contributors. Because when I scroll down to the README, excuse me, when I scroll down to the README, I see this nice list of maintainer level 2 and core team. Like, what's that about?
So after we made the first alpha release, like activity on GitHub exploded. There were tons of issues, tons of PRs, and I was like, "Oh no, I need help." so, so I quickly set up these level 1 and level 2 maintainers, and we have a dedicated docs page now on the documentation side. That's, you can click there; it'll redirect you.
Click to here.
Well, go back to this. Yeah, that'll
There we
take you
go.
there. I need to update that link.
Oh,
But
I guess
so the
issues are welcomed or contributions welcome.
PRs. Yeah. Um, so the idea here is that you have a level 1 maintainer. It's kind of like tier 1 support where they're just doing like issue triage, helping, just being interactive in the community, helping answer questions. If somebody has a problem or a bug report, like making sure that they have a way to reproduce it, have they tried on the latest version, that sort of stuff. So that's level 1 maintainers, and then level 2 maintainers is people who have actual code ownership over some amount of code, and then they can like be responsible for reviewing and merging PRs that are related to that section. And then so core team is supposed to be freed up more to work on higher level features, ideas, like versus the day-to-day stuff. But turns out I'm still doing a lot of the day-to-day PRs and stuff, but it's there. People are starting to help out more, and
Yeah.
that's going good.
Okay. And do you sort of engage the community through, it looks like through Slack? So do you have like a stand up or a sort of asynchronous like discussion or something like that?
Sure. So we for a while, for the first like 4 or 5 months or something like that, we had a weekly contributor call, just a Zoom call,
Yeah.
where anyone contributing would join. Because we were iterating rapidly, making lots of progress, and so we had that for a while. But then it kind of dropped off because progress slowed down. We were working on bigger, longer term features, and so we haven't done that for a while. But probably I want to start a weekly or bi-weekly meetup where just anyone can join, not necessarily contributors. It's kind of more just regular community focused. But
Yeah. And like, I think, and nowadays, like I think there's like a lot of opportunity for things like the biweekly meetup. I don't know if you've chatted with the Red.js folks, but they have something similar where it's not specifically contributor focused, but it is like a monthly, like
right,
everybody around the world who wants to hear more about that, they're able to sort of sit in and learn and sort of learn directly from the source, which is the I guess maintainer, the level, was it core maintainer? What was the other level?
core team, yeah,
Yeah, core team. Yeah, which is like invaluable because you have all the knowledge in your head. You've basically been there since alpha or commit zero. So like to be able to ask you questions on like why decisions were made, or if there's possibility, like using Prisma now, but is there possibility to sort of hot swap through like future plugins or growth? Which I'm curious. You like the structure of the monolith today for Blitz.js. Like, is there opportunity to have different uses? Because I know with Rails you can sort of get Mongo working. Well, you can get Mongo
yeah,
working in Rails,
yeah,
even though it's like
yeah.
it's a PostgreSQL thing.
Yeah, good question. So Blitz is fully database agnostic.
Okay.
It comes with Prisma by default, but you can totally swap it out and just use any database client. Like there's like Rails, it's more tricky with Rails because of the whole active record thing and making that work with other databases.
Yeah.
But we don't have that in Blitz, and so you can just directly use any type of database client. You can use Fauna. We're going to get a Fauna example up soon. You can use anything like that.
Yeah. So with the like the agnostic, like I know that Prisma is it agnostic? Like as far as the database layer, can Prisma use something besides PostgreSQL now?
So yeah, right now it's Postgres, MySQL, and SQLite. But they're going to be adding support for Mongo, probably Fauna, DynamoDB, and their goal is to be like a universal database client to work with as many databases as possible.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. So, are there examples that you want to show us and walk us through?
Or
Just general Blitz.js. We sort of scraped the surface of the tutorial of how to get started.
um, there's nothing really like on the docs versus like just going to the terminal and setting it up. But it's so easy that like if you're watching, like just go run. You can install Blitz globally or use npx Blitz new. You can use npx Blitz new my app or whatever name you want, and it'll scaffold out the whatever you it'll scaffold out your app. So it sets up
I just did that in the wrong folder.
user it sets up user login, sign up and log in and log out by default in new apps. So as soon as this finishes, you can create an account and log in, log out, etc., and your like authentication is done for you. So that's something that's super amazing. We're going to be adding forgot password flows soon and email confirmation.
Okay.
Um, so Yeah, this will take a bit probably because it's
Yeah.
installing
Yeah,
everything.
we'll let this run, and
But
I'll play with this live too as well. Just for the sake of the chat, Fire Lemons, we don't have any chat commands. Thanks for checking for us. We're happy to take suggestions in the future. You can find us on the meetup page, and you can find my email, or you can whisper me if you'd like. But yeah, thanks for trying. And also, Marco, welcome in. All right. So we're gonna let that run for a bit. Yeah. So I'm curious. I mean, we are what a week away from Hacktoberfest. Like, what sort of things are you getting ready to prepare for Hacktoberfest?
so we have most of the stuff just there by default with so the best place to get started contributing is on the documentation site.
Gotcha.
We have a how to contribute on the left side under community.
Oh, perfect. I like seeing stuff like
And
this.
so this walks you through the very first thing was a if you're new to open source, go look at Kinsey Dodd's how to contribute to
Yep.
open source project. So that's really helpful for like what is a fork, how do you fork, what's a PR, all of that sort of stuff. And then we have the code of conduct, and then also we have a page on how the community operates. So that's if you want to be involved in the Bliss community, that's a really good page that we just added this week that just details like everything, like who's involved. It talks about the maintainers, talks about how to file bug reports, how to submit like how to be involved, how to like gain stature and status in the community, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
There's a
this goes through.
there's a question in the chat from Shinesome. Sorry, Matt, definitely butchered that name. But are there prerequisites for learning Blitz.js?
No, so you need to know React, but you can learn React at the same time you're learning Blitz.
Gotcha.
Um, and yeah, so you don't have to know about next.js. We have all the documentation that you need. So no.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I think it's the same thing with like, so we already mentioned Ruby on Rails, and like that's your inspiration for building the structure of this. Like, same thing with Ruby on Rails. You don't actually have to know strict Ruby to get by, or
Yep.
even any other framework, because the framework, I guess, it has enough opinions to sort of push you along and learn as you go. And I think Next.js also has a really strong community, and I'm not sure how much of the Next.js is exposed in the Blitz app. I assume a lot of it is probably pretty familiar to
Basically all
Next.js.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Are you going to be attending Next.js Conf in what, a couple weeks?
Yeah. Hopefully I'll get to speak. I've applied. We'll see.
Excellent. If they're listening, let's give them a little nudge. Cool. I'm just gonna take a little check on our. Okay, so I have to choose a form library. It looks like.
Yep.
You have any suggestions? Oh, I guess the recommended. I'll just do React Final Form, which I've actually never actually used before. So exciting. But we'll just look at the hello world. I won't actually. I won't bore the listeners and watching me struggle to write code live on the air.
So this will take a few more minutes to install the packages for the app. So it was installing the Blitz CLI.
Gotcha. Yeah, very cool. Well, I mean, hopefully with npm 7 that will be a little faster.
Yeah. So here on this how to contribute page, scroll up to what to work on.
Gotcha. What I saw that right here.
Yeah. So click on that, and so we have these um,
Real quick,
issues
can I
that
ask
are ready.
what the
Yep.
what your docs are made with? It's pretty nice.
It's currently Docusaurus
Docusaurus?
V2
Yeah. Gotcha.
alpha version. Everything
Excellent.
is alpha.
Yeah, well, you're cutting
um,
edge.
but I think we might actually switch to using Blitz for the docs.
Okay.
We'll
Well,
see.
yeah, dog fooding makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. So I clicked through that link, and there is a label for status ready to work on, which is,
Yeah. So
yeah,
all of
genius.
these issues are ready for anyone can come in and just say comment on it and say I'm going to work on this, and there you go, and we'll assign it to you too, and then it'll change the status to status/assign. We have a bot set up that syncs the like if you're assigned, it'll automatically set the label, and then also syncs the labels with the project board. So
Gotcha.
it's really easy for us to manage.
Yeah. Well, how's that? Is that bot something you are managing, or
We,
is that?
yeah, yeah. It's a custom bot. Actually, a couple people worked on it. Um, thankfully.
Yeah, excellent. Now I'm intrigued too because I build a few bots myself. Is it built with like Probot or is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
okay? Excellent. Yes, big fan.
So then inside these issues that are ready to work on, there's also issues that are marked good first issue.
Yeah.
And the good first issue ones, they're like quite easy, very simple. Um, and so it like really is a good first issue if you don't have to really know anything about Blitz. Most of the time, we try to link like to exactly the file or the line of source code that needs changed. So it's easy to be like, okay, come in and modify this line, and there you go. And then we also have good second issue tags that are like if you're a bit more experienced with knowing what's going on in Rails or in Blitz, then those are good for you too.
I've never actually seen good second issue before in a project, but it's also a genius. It looks like there's a lot of care of actually maintaining the project because even with the project that's only been around since February, it seems like you've put a lot of intent into making sure there's like a sort of onboarding path for folks. Um, and speaking of which, there's a question in the chat. Can you confirm the responsiveness of the Blitz team? So I assume like if you say I would like to work on this, like is there? I don't assume you have SLAs, but I'm curious how soon can someone expect to get I guess a response.
Depends how much money you send me. um, so I also have that in the doc. So it says what to expect after submitting a PR,
Gotcha.
and we will usually respond within a couple days. Usually review your PR within a couple days. So it depends, like if we're on vacation, the weekend, what's going on. But we try to make it fairly quick within a day or two. Same thing with if you submit an issue, we usually try to reply within a day or two
Yeah.
to follow up somehow.
Yeah, and I think it's to be fair for open source maintainers, it's you're I assume you're not getting paid. This is not VC backed or anything like that. So this is
Correct.
like this is your time. So
Yeah.
like if since you have some long standing features, I think it's
Yep.
it's okay to wait a couple days. Or if someone really is
Um,
excited, looks like you can go into Slack as well.
yeah. Yeah. So if you have something that's like you need something fast, you can post on Slack, and people usually respond quicker in there.
Yeah, excellent. And then as far as and then going back to the tier one maintainers and having that team, did they also respond to those issues as well? Is that
Yeah.
part of
Yep.
that
Yeah.
role? Okay,
Yep.
excellent. Yeah, that's awesome. And like I love the beautiful labels everywhere.
I have to enjoy working on it myself, so that's part of it.
All right, I'm gonna take a quick commercial timeout to look at my Blitz app, and we can see that it is ready to go. I'll make this smaller since our heads are blocking a bit of that, but yeah, so I'm live, and let's see. I did literally nothing except install this. It looks like I need to do a
Looks
migration.
like, uh, yeah, this doesn't look quite right. It looks like they used an old version.
Um,
Um, try, yeah, so run blitz.db migrate. You can use npx blitz.db or whatever, or yarn. Do you have yarn installed?
I do.
Okay, so do yarn blitz.db migrate.
Blitz not found.
Just not.
I might have to.
Try running yarn. Maybe the dependencies failed to install. That's probably what happened. There's currently an issue where the automatic dependency installation fails in certain network situations. Engine
Uh,
no.
I need to
That's
use.
why. And we actually have an open PR right now to give you a helpful error that says versus the goofy error stuff.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's on me. I need to start using the later version of Node. uh,
Um, that's some anytime if somebody wants to contribute to Blitz, a great way is improving error messages,
yeah,
or like that's something that we always need to do. And right now it's a bit rough. we'll get that all cleaned up before 1.0.
Yeah, and I would encourage anybody who's listening right now, if you have a terminal open, feel free to do the same thing I did and document that experience, because I think that's some of my best contributions is sort of introductions to teams or the projects themselves is just trying it out and finding out some edge cases of how how I think this should be. And I think the best thing is this opening issue or jump in the Slack and see if it is priority or if you could work on it yourself. So I
Yep.
got the DB migrate. Yeah, so it looked like it was the version number and name of the migration. If you have any problems, should I name this first?
You can just hit enter.
Oh, okay. Excellent. It looks like it's doing a lot of stuff. I haven't used Prisma 2. So actually I have used Prisma 2. I've only just cloned and did a one commit to a project, but that's
Cool. So
besides the
now,
fact.
yarn start, it'll run Blitz start.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks like Tom Broderick is saying that he's using it for a consulting project and cannot say enough good things about it. So
Nice.
we got some Blitz fans out here. So we're gonna drive into the localhost. And here's my Blitz. Congratulations, I'm blitzing. Excellent. And I see these generate commands too as well. So these are very, very familiar to me from Rails. It's been a
Yep.
while since I actually started a new Rails app from scratch, but yeah, very familiar.
So you can sign up. If you scroll up to the top, click on sign up and just enter. It's not going to send an email, so you can just enter something.
All right, everybody's gonna. I guess I should use my GitHub email so everybody can dox me there instead of my personal email. There we go, and I'm logged
And
in.
there you're logged in.
So
So
is this is staging like local development environment? That's
yeah,
where that gets
it's
stored.
using SQLite by default.
Gotcha.
So because that works pretty much every
Yeah,
machine. But I definitely recommend switching to Postgres locally and then using Postgres in production.
that is pretty awesome to have. I've literally have login for a site with no
Yeah.
bells and whistles. I don't have to
Um,
pull in other libraries or anything like that.
exactly. So while we're talking about authentication, it's also super easy to add social login, like via Twitter, Facebook, GitHub, whatever. We have an adapter for Passport.js, which there's like hundreds of Passport.js strategies that are already available. And so yeah, we have a page in the docs for under auth, under Passport. Yep. And so you literally put one file in,
Oh,
and you just provide any Passport.js strategy, and then it will automatically work. But you'll have to go set up the OAuth thing in GitHub and get the keys and all of that.
okay. So
Um,
I can't just copy and paste that and see this work.
no,
Okay.
because of the keys.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha. All right. Something
but
actually.
scroll down. Yeah, scroll down. You'll see an example of
Twitter strategy.
so like
Yeah.
yeah. So you copy and paste that whole thing in there and add your keys, and it just works.
That's pretty nice. I might actually be working on this afternoon. If anybody's interested, I live stream on this Twitch handle.
I
Uh,
think there's a GitHub example on this page too. Um,
I guess I can
scroll,
passport authenticate GitHub. Yeah, I haven't used Passport.js.
scroll down farther. I think there's a full example. Yeah, scroll up
There we
right
are.
there. Um, okay, maybe. All right, maybe. Oh, it's Auth0 that we added, not GitHub. I don't know why
Off
that says
zero.
GitHub right there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's basically the same thing. So
Yeah. Excellent. I'm familiar with Off Zero. That's a great client for managing authentication, and yeah, it just takes one more sign up, and then you're off to the races. Excellent.
uh, Shine some in the chat says you took all the best parts of JavaScript frameworks. Awesome. That's what like I've been hearing. Someone else in the Slack, maybe it's the same person. I don't know, but they said they started out with Ruby on Rails. Really liked all of the like how that just like that experience, and then they used Angular, and they liked how that was like all TypeScript, kind of the standard. And then they liked Ember, which was kind of a bit more of the Rails conventions
Yeah.
and things, and then React for just like React and stuff. And then basically Blitz is like the combination of all of these, the best parts of everything.
Yeah. So could I ask about the ORM too as well? And
Yeah.
since I do have a user, like what would be the step to actually see the data?
Run Yarn Studio, and that'll run Yarn. Yeah, go ahead and run that. That'll run BlitzDB Studio, which uses Prisma Studio.
Gotcha.
So click, yep,
Wow.
and there you
Okay.
can see
Amazing.
everything in your
Yeah. I
database.
mean, it's not understated. And like, look here, you can see my hash password. Good luck cracking that one. It's actually pretty easy. But it's nice to actually see this because again, like I don't want to. I spend a lot of time building like new projects and like throwing together stuff really quickly to see if things stick. And I'm a developer advocate at GitHub, so like I don't have a long standing projects. So if I want to do user auth and set this up and then like get a nice prototype going to get buy-in for other people to say yes, go ahead and do this. Like seems like hands down probably the fastest way I've seen to do database integration, authentication. I've got React, which I'm familiar with. And if I want to drop, I guess sprinkle in some CSS. I guess does that exist as well, or what's powering this template I have?
Right now, it's using styled JSX, which comes in next in
Okay.
Blitz by default. But you can. So something else we have is recipes. So do you know, would you like using Tailwind or Chakra or
I
Emotion?
I am getting into Tailwinds now, so I have one project using Tailwinds, and it seems like the thing I'm probably gonna be sticking with for a bit.
Okay, so you can go to the console and run blitz install Tailwind,
Uh,
and it'll install Tailwind for you automatically.
amazing. So what's powering that then? Blitz install Tailwind?
It's
Oop, I can
yeah.
spell.
So this is what we call a blitz recipe, just a not a, without an S.
Oh, Tailwind.
Now, no, this is still alpha status because it asks you about 50,000 times if you're sure that you want to keep doing this, so you have to keep pressing enter. Um,
JS Code Shift. And in the chat
uh-oh.
there, oh, does it support Firebase auth? Is a question that came in.
I if there is a passport strategy for Firebase auth, that would work. Is that what the question is about?
Yes.
Does it support Firebase auth? Yeah, so I'm guessing there is a passport strategy for that.
Yeah.
If so, yeah.
The also
So
the next question is disculpen no sé inglés do hablarán los videos español. No habla español this video in una hora Octagatos Conf in español. So we have a conference in Spanish that's going to be on this channel in 1 hour, and people might
cool.
be showing up a little early for it.
Go.
And my Spanish is really bad, so I apologize. Lo siento. Oh, do you
Um,
offer videos in Spanish? Yeah. Oh, maybe the question was for you.
if
I
it
think.
is for me, no, not yet. But we do. So we have a new design for the website that's being finished right now, and then we're gonna redo the website with a whole new design. And once we get that done, we're gonna do doc translations. We have a issue in the documentation repo. There's already like probably 20 or maybe more people that are signed up to help with translations for a bunch of different languages. So
Okay.
that will be sweet to get in place.
And Ella, thanks for the translation too. It was actually will the videos be dubbed in Spanish? But yeah, for if you're referring to the Octagatos conf, it actually will be streamed in Spanish and English. It was a great Spanish attempt, you know. Yes, but no Spanish
So
videos right now. Yeah, go ahead.
this issue with your in your terminal,
Oh
I
yeah, I completely missed that. Yeah. Oh, there we are.
um
Looks like can I
it's
find?
try install do yarn at or yarn global add blitz.
Yeah, I think
I
that's probably
wonder if
what the global ad Blitz. Yeah, so I
Blitz
guess
looks
for
like a
the sake of
bug.
the listener, I didn't actually install Blitz on my machine. I was actually using the one that was cached up in npm. So I should probably just have it locally so I don't get these edge cases. Node engine
Um,
compatible. Am I still using?
got 10.
I want to use 14 because I think it's the latest one I have. I did actually set the default, but there we go. We'll try it one more time. The dependencies, version management is the challenge today.
So yeah, these recipes are it's one command to install any amount of code into your project. So
Yeah.
it's really great for these like third-party library integrations. Right now we have one for Tailwind, for Chakra, for Emotion. So yeah, so now try Blitz install, and we don't have very many yet, but we want to have like hundreds of these. So basically everything, if you're familiar with Next.js, all the Next.js examples in their repo, like with this, with X, with Y, we want to have all those as recipes. So it's just one command.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and press enter.
Yep. And then,
This is what I was talking about. You have to keep pressing enter like 50 times.
okay. Just
It'll be, are
installing
you
it.
sure? Are you sure?
That'd be a nice little contribution if anybody wants to open that issue. Some questions. Does it support password resets natively, or is that also
Um,
Passport.js?
we, so we don't have the code like for it in new apps by default yet. We probably will at some point, but it's relatively simple to do. Like we have the functions there. You just need to write a mutation that says reset, and then you make sure the passwords match and whatever you want to do. Um,
Yeah, and it looks like I guess ZSH is has auto suggestions. Yeah, I'm not using ZSH. Um,
it's strange to me. Don't have auto
I
suggestions.
think he's
If you there's
yeah,
a blitz auto commit or auto complete command
yeah,
that will add auto suggest or add auto complete for whatever terminal you're in.
yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it is have autocomplete, but I don't have the ZSH like the so that you can see it typing before, like the. I know what they're talking about. I don't use it, so I don't know how to explain it. But yes, I'm using bare bones terminal because that's the way I roll. But yeah, it looks like we ended up React error
Okay, yeah.
boundary. I think this worked actually.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. So it'll and like if there's Tailwind doesn't have a theme provider, but Emotion does, for example, in Chakra. And so if it has a theme provider, it'll automatically add that in your app at the correct place. So it's pretty slick.
Yeah, and for the sake of folks, questions about prettier and ESLint by default, is that also
Yes.
lives in here?
And just. Yep.
And just okay, cool. So like getting the basics up and running if you wanted to
Yep.
write tests.
And Husky get hooks so that it automatically formats your code when you commit.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'm just looking
Our
at
page is
the
set to server-side render or client-side by default is question. Page by default, pages are client-side rendered. So like in the new app, the login and sign up stuff are client-side rendered, but you can easily switch between them as you want.
excellent. Yeah, so I wanted to transition to talk more about the issues real quick. That was fascinating that I was able to get that much done. I've imagined I could probably get a pretty sweet site up and running pretty quickly. Just saying that I can look up Blitz recipes. I guess my one quick question is the Blitz recipes. How is it in documentation on how to build those yourself
Yeah,
if you want to integrate it?
yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's not necessarily easy because you're working with ASTs like Babel
Yeah.
transform stuff.
Yep.
But we're gonna be adding like more and more easier like functions. So like a function right now we have a function for adding a dependency. So that's easy.
Yeah.
Scroll down, you can see the recipe builder. Um, and then we'll add commands for like add a provider. So that would be easy. Right now it's pretty difficult, but
Okay. And does Next.js currently have plugins as well?
they have like what people typically calls plugins as you wrap like the next config object,
Yeah.
so you can be like with whatever. So that same thing works in Blitz,
Okay. Excellent. Yeah,
but
because
we
I
don't
don't have
have any.
a lot of experience in like specifically in Next.js. I only just have like one
Yeah,
app, so it's the majority of this is new for me. So I'm like actually pretty
yeah.
excited to jump in. Question from Tom is in the chat. What sort of milestones are needed to go from alpha to beta?
Good question. Um, I'm not sure actually. I've been thinking mostly in terms of what needs done for 1.0, but I
Yeah.
should think about what exactly is alpha to beta. Um, I need to think about that more, but we're pretty close to beta status.
Okay.
There's a few things. So like the PR open right now to add a use mutation hook, which fixes the roughest part in Blitz right now, which is how you type the context parameter, which is how you get the session inside your queries and mutations. So once we get this will be like a big, kind of a big step of um, there being less issues.
Oh, looks like it's adding 50 bytes. I'm gonna have to look into that. Excellent. Yeah, actually, I really like this action. I have it on one project, and it's nice to see what you're sort of bringing into the mix. I've been
Yeah,
very, I guess, cautious on adding in new files and projects that add a lot of like too much weight to my project. Mainly because I do a lot of streaming like this, and a lot of the projects I use as browser sources. So I'm very cautious on things like that. How easy would it be handled API through Rails and mount Blitz for the client on top of like a Webpacker or similar?
so if I'm assuming you have an existing Rails app that you're wanting to use, because Blitz basically replaces the need for GitHub as or Rails as an API, because Blitz is your like API layer if you want to call it that. Um, so to actually answer your question, I think it would probably be difficult
Yeah.
to actually mount it on top of Rails using Webpacker. And
It
if you're
sounds
going to
like you
do
would
that,
probably
you
want
would
to
want
use
to use,
Next or something.
yeah, just regular Next.js.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because I think what you get for free from Blitz is that sort of connection to the database in the backend,
Correct.
all in one structure as a monolith. But if you're already coming with the backend that you want to create your own monolith with, yeah, and embedding React or even Next into that project would probably be the way to go. Which I don't know if there's a very clear path for that today. I'm
Correct.
very removed from the Rails environment or Rails community. Um, Other question is, it's authentication state maintained by browser session or API tokens?
It
Um,
is using token-based authentication, session authentication right now. So I think we'll add an advanced authentication option that uses actual JWTs. Right now it's using opaque tokens that are stored in the database. So this is basically the same way that Rails Laravel does it. But that's all handled for you. You don't have to really know about it.
cool. Yeah, and the Mike was just mentioned about the deep check to look for unused packages and libraries in your project, which I'm a fan of. Like I love deleting stuff. It makes me look cool. You know, green green squares for life. Just kidding. Um, Yeah. So, anything else, I guess, to keep people informed? Like, you got the good first issue, you got good second issue. Did you want to look at a good issue to sort of walk through people what the sort of the case is?
Um, we can. I don't care. I don't necessarily have anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating to see some of the open PRs, to see the structure of the project, and like get a good understanding of like is like I could not state it understated like overstated enough. Like actually using Blitz is probably first step in contributing, because once you've used it, you like I saw that there was some sort of rough edge cases on like the error messages that are coming through, mainly because I
Yep.
didn't update my Node version, and yeah, that's like a great first place. Like if I had the bandwidth, I would be opening up that issue, and then I would wait.
So
I'd wait.
we already have a PR open for that one, so
Oh,
you
you
don't
already
have
have
to
a
worry
PR?
about it. Yeah.
Oh, let's take a look at that because I'm curious if that sort of exposes a bit of how the CLI works too as well.
Let's see. Prompt to choose database. Scroll up. It's probably one of the top ones. Um, fix. Make. Fix. Add no. Okay. Scroll down. Scroll down. Are these ordered by updated?
I think they're ordered by, yeah, I think they get ordered by updated. Perhaps that's my
Because that's maybe we don't have a. Maybe someone is just working on it, and the PR
okay.
isn't actually open yet. That could be because
Actually,
I'm
I
not
am
seeing it.
sorting by newest.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, something to definitely check out. Someone asked about Blitz. Oh, I guess there was a response to that. Is Blitz recommendation around handling global state and local state or consuming an API? Yeah.
So we don't have any recommendation for global and local state, um, other than like just personally, I would recommend checking out Zuston or is it Joy? They're both projects from the React Spring organization or community or whatever. So those are pretty sweet. And for consuming an API, you don't have to um, really worry about an API because Blitz takes care of that for you. But we do use React Query under the hook, under the hood. So our use query hook and then our coming use mutation hook is built on top of React Query, and that handles all of the caching of the API responses internally from Blitz. So you don't have to really think about that caching or that fetching or anything, but it's handled for you.
Yeah, and I do want to mention that we're going to actually have React Tanner from React Query on the stream next week. So
Sweet.
if you want to see that conversation, just hit follow on the channel and you'll get a notification.
So the next question there was, can Blitz be used as an API server, including auth, or is auth tied to the front end? So currently, the built-in session management is cookie-based. It can work with, so typically you don't want to do cookie-based authentication or session management for APIs strictly. You'd want to use like a token auth, and you can add that. So you can add token auth via middleware. We have ability to add any type of middleware into your queries and mutations. So you can do that. And then the other thing is we have regular plain API routes that are just a straight node request response thing, and you can do whatever you want there. You can add a GraphQL server there if you want, or so it's very flexible.
Cool. And someone from GitHub Infra is here too as well. I don't recognize the name, but thanks for stopping by, and we look forward to seeing Blitz being cloned and leveraged and inside of GitHub. I'm just kidding. That was actually one of the responses to the Twitter is when GitHub is going to start using Blitz. We would
I
definitely
would
need to come out
love,
of beta.
yeah. Just like how GitHub is built on Rails today, I would love for like, yeah, in 5-10 years there to be like a GitHub, like a large company that starts on Blitz today, and then they're like this big company using Blitz
Yeah, and that's like a lot of the
for years.
frameworks that are super successful. I think React is kind of the inverse because React started inside of Facebook, but
Yeah.
having someone using it and sort of pushing, like even answering the question around what are the next steps for between alpha and beta, a lot of those get dictated by the needs of people who are actually sort of pushing it to the edges and
Yep.
the bounds. And like for what I see, I think you sort of like embedded a lot of well, you get a lot of the next.js stuff for free by building the connections together. But like it seems pretty mature for me for like the side projects I run to basically like simply get this authentication running. If I wanted to move on to Auth0, I see a path there. I see a path for my CSS style sheets and stuff like that. GraphQL was mentioned. Prisma is already attached. Like getting something up and running. Like if you work at an agency, it seems like if you had to do sites every single week, like this would be the thing to grab and
Totally.
ship. Yeah,
Yep.
which is amazing. Yeah, so we get a lot of yeah. Blitzes looks cool, so definitely check it out.
What
Yeah, go ahead.
One one thing that'd be kind of just cool to mention here briefly is Blitz definitely takes the monolithic approach to building apps like Ruby on Rails
Yeah,
and Laravel do, but the most people are like kind of bristle out of monolith because of its scalability. Like, oh, it's doesn't scale, and so you can run Blitz as a server or serverless. So if you run Blitz as a server, you have the same type of monolith scaling things to deal with, but you can also deploy Blitz serverless. And so all of your like queries and mutations are individual serverless functions. And so they'll scale automatically and independently. You can deploy to Vercel, you can deploy to AWS. I think you can even deploy to Netlify if you set it up correctly. And then, of course, you can deploy to Render, to Heroku, to regular EC2 instance. So it's super flexible in deployment. So I think that's a really good thing for Blitz compared to like Rails, where once you get a really big app, then people are like, I don't want to deal with this with Rails. But with Blitz, it should be better
Yeah.
because of being able to run a serverless.
Yeah, that's I mean, you're saying all the things I need to hear to be excited about this. And like I know we had this conversation actually on my podcast previously. I haven't actually checked out Blitz for any projects now, but you've convinced me to install Blitz on the command line here. I've got my own project here, which is me being live and doing Blitz. So I've got some work to do, and I'm curious if people have Blitz sites or they want to actually like share their projects. Is there a place to sort of like showcase their Blitz?
There's a show and tell channel in Slack, and then there's also the wiki. Click on the wiki at the top bar.
Oh, here.
Um, yeah, so this is just a public wiki. Anybody can add stuff to it. So you can see just like architectural patterns, apps that are made with Blitz that are in production right now. Podcast, there's our
Yeah,
podcast.
Jamstack Radio. Everybody listen to that one. And your talks too
Conference
as well.
talks, meetups, etc.
You know,
So,
honestly, I never even thought to use wikis this way. This is this is excellent. I look forward to this live stream actually getting added to this list too as well.
you bet.
And yeah, it looks like there's some opportunity right here for tutorials and courses. So anybody?
Yep.
Excellent. And then we didn't even touch on discussions because you said you had access to discussions too as well.
Yep.
So what can people use discussions for?
So anything that's especially like RFCs for new features, if it's just a tiny improvement, and I have this is in the docs too, and how the community operates. But small little changes can just be a regular GitHub issue, but bigger, larger, like add a new hook or add to some new feature, post it up as an RFC. Like, take some time to put in exactly like how you think it could work, how it could be implemented, so forth. And then also just like questions. So these are nice because anybody can link to them, review them, etc. So I recommend if you have questions or problems, put it in the GitHub discussion, and then you can also drop the link in Slack because notifications aren't set up there yet, and
Yeah.
then that'll get somebody to answer it.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we blitzed right through this thing. Sorry for the forced pun, but I appreciate you coming on talking about Blitz.js, Brandon. If anybody's interested, Brandon's name's like right above his head. Flybear, Flybear. I don't know why I keep trying to put like extra syllables in front of the B, but apologies on that. But everybody can see
No
that.
problem.
And folks, if you're interested in learning about React Query next week, we've got the GitHub CLI team as well coming on and chatting about that. So it's a CLI built in on top of Go using Cobra. So hit the follow button. And my name's above here. So if you're interested in hanging out with me and chatting with me this afternoon and probably prodding at Blitz for a little bit, yeah, I'm here streaming every Tuesday and Fridays. So yeah, with that being said, this was fun. It's Open Source Friday. And yeah, anything else you want to add, Brandon?
Nope, that's it.
All right, well, that is it. And if anybody wants to hear Octogato's conference, it's going to be happening on this channel in 30 minutes in Spanish. We have a second channel which will be in English, so you'll find it pretty easily. All right, cheers everybody, and happy hacking.
Bye.